Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi. He's a congressman from Illinois. Congressman, thanks as usual for joining us. This announcement by the White House comes, just about 2 weeks after President Biden severely restricted the asylum process over at the border with Mexico. Why do you think the president is taking this new step now?
Well, I think it's just recognizing the reality of the current situation, which is that you have so many spouses of American citizens who can already apply for legal permanent residency or a green card, but they'd have to leave the country in order to do so. My district has a lot of such cases. 30% of my constituents are foreign born. And what we find is that when these spouses have to leave the country, sometimes they're gone for as many as 3 or 4 years before they can come back to continue with the process. So the families are separated. So what we're doing here, what we're seeing with the president, is he's recognizing that it's wrong to separate these families. And then secondly, by permitting them to work, we're expanding the economy, which makes all the sense in the world right now.
And to separate those families and let the mothers or the fathers who have to leave the country leave their own kids behind, maybe for, as you say, 3 or 4 years. That's so heartbreaking indeed. Republicans, though, as you know, Congressman, are slamming President Biden's new executive action, saying it's just going to encourage more people to come to the United States illegally. How do you respond to that?
Well, look, we know that our immigration and border are broken. We need a legislative fix, and the president has pursued that in Congress. However, unfortunately, Donald Trump and Republicans have blocked this, saying that essentially if there's any legislative solution, that would somehow provide a win to the president. And so I kind of chuckle a little bit when I hear these Republicans complain, because they're voting oftentimes against the very bipartisan legislative fixes to our border and our immigration system that they rhetorically are for. So right now we have to do what's right and what's smart, and I think that's what the president is doing through these executive actions.
You heard Arlette over at the White House mention the Biden campaign statement promoting the president's new executive action. But a recent Quinnipiac University poll shows former President Trump ahead of President Biden on immigration by more than 10 points. You see it right there. Who would do a better job handling immigration? 52% say Trump, 41% say Biden. Why do you think voters seem to trust Trump's policies more than Biden's?
I don't know for sure, but I suspect that, they want to see more action with regard to the border. I'm glad that the president took the steps he did last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, to reduce the illegal asylum seeking between ports of entry that's happening right now. I think that's a good step in the right direction. At the end of the day, Wolf, as you know, we need a legislative fix. And that's something that I'm glad that people like James Langford, a Republican in the Senate, put forward. However, that measure got blocked repeatedly by Republicans and Donald Trump. So I think now the president's trying to show some action, and he's taking the right steps, in my opinion.
Congressman, I want you to look at this. 62% of Americans in this poll say they support deporting all undocumented immigrants living in the United States. Here's the question. Are Democrats out of touch with the American people on this very, very sensitive issue?
I don't think so. I think that, when it comes down to it, a lot of these folks are in our communities. They're rooted in our communities. They don't have a criminal record. They've oftentimes contributed greatly to our country. And when folks are pressed, would you deport this person or that person from your community, they usually say no. So I think we have to look at the humanity of the situation and what's the smart thing to do. And right now, I think the president's doing both with regard to the spouses of American citizens who are eligible anyway to go forward with a green card process, and now he's expediting that.
And then he's offering them a potential pathway to U.S. citizenship as well. And if you take a look at a lot of these immigrants, not all, but almost all of them, they are hardworking people who are contributing greatly to their communities and to the country at large. Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of Illinois, as usual, thank you so much for joining us.